infrastructure provides the resources and goods that societies depend upon, from the primary industries where materials are extracted from, to the factories and facilities where they are transformed into goods and materials. However, they impact the planet through pollution, energy use, and waste, among other issues. To this end, we've invited experts on infrastructure to share their insights about how we can reduce these impacts and decrease our dependence on wasteful and inefficient items. They are Valérie Itey, the CEO of Clic Recycle, and Lisset Gomez, an independent environmental consultant at BCG Soluciones. After their presentations, they kindly took questions from the audience.
I must say that the session was very informative. But before I start with the Q&A session, I'd like to thank our guests again for sharing their valuable knowledge and experience with us. And as I always say, with step by step and drop by drop, we will certainly make a big change for a thrivable future. So with that being said, let's move on to the first question, and any of our guests can answer first. So my question is, what is that one myth or misconception that you often encounter about climate adaptation or waste management, and how would you correct it?
So I will say first that there is a lot of persons that don't really see it as a challenge. Okay, so they will see that is something that was already in the past, that is was already happening. So we have a lot of skeptical about climate change and resilience. So that's the first thing. So how we answer, I think, with the community. Why community? Because community can be a way to drive the knowledge, to drive the education, to drive the experience, but also to when you hear something all the time like a theoric something, and that you can prove with experience this theory, you bring something new in the table, because when you read a book and you only read it is not enough. You need to experience this, no? So I think that it's something that with a community can have a big way of solutioning things, because you have a different kind of community, and it can be a way of finding a solution of the voice of climate change, I will say. Yes, for me, the answer is a kind of community. Second, to always use technology also, because technology can be used, like, for example, AI. I know that AI is using a lot of servers, a lot of cloud, and if we don't use it for the right purpose, it can be tomorrow a problem. But it's like everything in life. I think that we need to find a balance, and finding the balance is a way, because we cannot be on all the extreme of something on the other side. It's really like a yin and yang, no? And finding this balance in everything. So I will say that technology also can be very useful, only if we know how to use technology in these matters.
Right, I do agree on that part. Thank you, Valérie, for sharing your views. I'll come to Lisset. The same question, but you can answer it from the point of view of waste management. So what is that one myth or misconception that you often encounter about waste management, and how do you deal with it?
One common misconception I often hear is that waste disappears once it goes into the bin. Many people think that if trash is out of sight, it's no longer a problem, but as I show in my presentation, that's not true, especially in countries like Peru and others in Latin America, where much of that waste ends up in open dump sites. These sites are often uncontrolled, without gas capture systems, leachate treatment, or environmental safeguards. They pollute soil, water, and air, and in many cases are located near vulnerable communities. To correct this idea, I always say, waste doesn't disappear, it moves. If we don't have proper infrastructure, it ends up our rivers or in our atmosphere and our ecosystems. So the goal is not just to get rid of waste, is to manage it sustainably through reduction, recovery, and safe final disposal. That starts with public awareness and systemic action.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your views. I'll come to more specific questions. I'll go on to Valérie with a specific question directed to her. So, what are the biggest challenges in industrial or urban sectors that you see when it comes to climate adaptation? You can give examples or discuss any case that you have come across. This will help us understand the situation better.
Okay, so challenges that we have, I think it was transparency. Okay, I think it's a big problem because we have a lot of buzzword of, and more when we are speaking about circular economy and use this waste and what I can do with it and things like that. So I will say transparency. Second, I will speak about resilience and regulation. Sometimes we think that regulation is bad, but I think that the regulation in reality puts the market in place. Okay, the problem is that regulation is long because they need to understand what is the problem, how they can fix it, and find some law inside and everything. So it's like a long term or middle term a way of doing things. But I think that when we are speaking about impact and waste and what we can do in something like this is very important also the regulation. So when you find an idea and you are building something, first you will make some pilot, okay? So make a pilot is something is, okay, I'm trying something. But after you need to prove what you are doing and you need to go back to the regulation and make it with the regulation in order to be sure that the impact that you are telling that you want to achieve, you will really do it. So here, the regulation can help because with this, you will be obliged to demonstrate what you are doing. Also, the same as the technology can do it. So I would say the two bigger challenge are first, transparency, second, regulation, and in a third step, it will be finding financement, no? Because when you are dealing with impact, it's very hard to find some financement because you are fighting with lobbies, you are fighting with other kind of, in my part, for example, materials that are very hard to beat because they have a kind of they are good in some things and they are bad in others, no? And they are here since a long time, so it's kind of hard to demonstrate. And the last one that I will say will be the LCA, which is life cycle assessment. We always think that because we are using a bio-based natural material, it's going to be easy with an LCA to succeed to win what is, for example, plastic or other kind of materials that we have and are difficult to recycling. So at the end, they end in landfill. So this is very complicated also LCA to succeed to win other kind of material because we don't have enough study that are putting into the LCA to know how many times it's going to take time to disappear from our planet, because in reality, biodegradability, everything biodegradable in our planet. The only question is how long it will take. Okay, it's not a question. I mean, everything will disappear. That's for sure. But some will take decades, others will take 100. So it's really depending of how long it will stay. And after in landfill, you have two kind of things. Okay, they are or entering into the soils, or they are taking it, for example, burning to make some energy. So in this case, also, I think that challenging is also misinformation and the need of education always.
Yeah, I guess education is a very strong pillar. Sets the foundation for everything. The right education, the right learning sets the foundation for everything. Thank you, Valérie. I'll come to Lisset. In your opening slides, you mentioned that 70% of the local governments still rely on open dump sites. So what are the barriers that is stopping them to change? Or what makes the open dump sites in Peru specifically being overlooked?
As I told in my presentation, 70% of local governments in Latin America still use dump sites, and Peru is not an exception. So there are a few key barriers that explain why this continues. First, a lack of infrastructure. Many local governments, especially in rural or remote areas, they have formal landfills, or treatment facilities nearby. So they continue using open dams as the only available option. Second, limited technical and financial capacity. Local and regional governments often face budget constraints, and environmental units are underfunded. In many cases, the staff assigned to waste management are not specialized professionals in that field. There is high turnover, which makes it hard to maintain continuity and long-term planning. Third, weak enforcement and supervision. Even though environmental laws exist, there is often limited capacity to supervise or enforce compliance, especially at the local level. Finally, the low awareness and confusion. Even authorities confuse open dams with controlled landfills, and communities don't fully understand the health and environmental risk these sites created.
I guess to sum it up, along with the education, training is also important so that there is information being spread out to everyone, what is right and what is wrong. Right. Thank you, Lisset, for that answer. I'll come to Valérie again. I'm interested to know more about the work you do. You have an organization that you run. So how does your organization integrate circular economy principles in its operation? I mean, you can give any example that you would like to give to support your answer.
Circular economy was key. I mean, in order to create the products that we were creating, we really think before creating. So the first step is what kind of material you want to use. And when you want to use one material, you need to understand the characteristic of this material. And after, if you want to do something and you have an objective, you need to think what kind of product you're going to do and how you're going to do this product, how it is going to long into our planet, and what you can do when it's not used it anymore. Okay, so I think the circular economy is it into the NDA of Clic Recycle because it was really how to make a product out of a waste and how many times it will stay and what we can close the loop with it. So it was, I will say it from the beginning, we think what kind of goal we have with it, and after we make the product. So it's very important to look at design. Eco design is very, very important because sometimes we see, oh, I make something, I make a product, but if this product don't have a place in the market, if nobody is going to buy your product, you make something that we don't sell for nothing. Okay, you take a waste, you make something with it, but you will make, and you will stay in hangars for years because you will not have no one that want to buy it or to make it. So I will say that eco design is very important because when you want to make something about waste, you need to have a design that will go on it. So you have this different way. You have the industrial way, okay, which is you really need to work with machine and perhaps in open innovation. Okay, so why you need to create a machine? No, just go to people that already have this machine and make a partnership with them, for example. And the second will be more artisanal. Okay, artisanal means that is like a do it by yourself or something like that. So you will have a consumption that will be slowly, but it's the same. I mean, when it's artisanal, there is also a design. There is an eco design inside. So I will answer that eco design thinking at the beginning of making a product is very important. And after knowing in which kind of market you want to go, it will be able to be industrialized or it will stay on a stage of do it yourself and artisanal. So it's two kind of different markets that you can use. And you need to think about at the beginning because it is a key that you really know for what, how, and where, and how it's ending in order to strive it again into and don't make a linear one. So I will answer that at the beginning for circular economy is eco design.
I guess it requires more of awareness. Where do you want to go? How you want to go about it? And then obviously you mentioned that you don't need to have a new machine to work with. You can go to a person who is already using or the company who's already using that machinery. So basically, it's more about shared resources.
Exactly. And I will say, something that is very important is at least in Europe, we have a lot of rural place with all the engineering manufacturing, okay, that are getting too old, okay, and what they are using is now not trending, so it's not possible. So you can make partner with them in order that you give your idea of new product, but they can make it, because if not, they can close, you know. So it's very important. It's like renewing in a kind of way the industrialization that we have on the past and manufacturing, and give us the new way of doing with new material. And this, the more most of the time they are in a rural place or industrial place. So it's a way that they are not going to close, and this will stay for rural also activity and industry. So I think that open innovation is also key related to climate resilience.
Thank you for that answer. I'll come to Lisset again. According to you, what are the steps that Peru is taking to integrate solid waste management into its national climate policy? I know that in the last question you did mention about some of the drawbacks or the challenges, but what are the positive steps that you see?
Okay, well, Peru is taking key steps to integrate solid waste management in its national climate policy. First, through the InfoCarbon system, it regularly tracks emissions from the waste sector, especially methane. This helps guide climate actions. Second, solid waste is part of the country's nationally determined contributions, NDCAs, with goals to reduce emissions through improved infrastructure and closing open dump sites. And third, programs like Programa Recicla and Commitment 3 promote waste separation, recovery, and formalization of recyclers, helping reduce the climate impact of waste. For instance, between 2018 to 2022, Peru avoided emissions of roughly 25,000 of carbon dioxide equivalent. So institutions like MINAM and OEFA are supporting local governments in transitioning to control and sustainable waste facilities. All these steps show how Peru is linking climate goals with better waste management.
Thank you, Lisset, for answering that part. Now, I'll take up a question from the audience. So we have Amreen Noman from Melbourne. So this question is directed to Valérie. She says that it's fascinating to know human hair is being used for regenerative recycling, and she would like to know what properties of human hair make it a valuable resource.
So, well, there is a lot of categorization of human hair. You know, that is 80% of keratin. So that's making very interesting, is very strong also. It can be very adsorbent, not absorbent, but adsorbent. This means that everything can go all around. Something that can be also don't breaking, and can have a lot of weight in it. Is full of nitrogen. Okay, this is what is it? If you go and sodium also, it's like the nails of human. Okay, hair and nails from human or for animals are the kind of same. So this is what you will do. I'm not an expert in categorization, but I know that they are very, very important in this sense. Like what I just said before, it is something important after to make a difference between what is human and what is animal. For example, why? For disease, we are speaking about climate change. You know that a lot of disease are coming from animals. So it's very in regarding waste management that my colleague that is speaking now is thinking it's very hard to understand and to take care about it, how you will clean it, how it will be separated, how it will be, etc. That's something that is very important. So the characteristic of what is it is important, and after how you will manage it, okay? So that's also very important.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, I have another question from the audience directed to Lisset. So this is coming from Paul. He's joining us from Nigeria. and he's willing to ask a question on open dump site versus the waste infrastructure. What low-cost or community-driven supervision models can be adopted to regulate and gradually eliminate open dump sites in informal settlements? What could be done?
Great question. Here are a few proven or emerging approaches. Community mapping and reporting apps. As mentioned in my slide, Peru's reported residues, citizens can geotag dump sites with photos and descriptions. Even with basic phones, this data can be gathered and sent to authorities or local leaders. Another one will be waste monitoring brigades or groups that trained volunteers or school groups can monitor key zones, lone dumping activity, and educate households on alternative disposal methods. Local commitment pacts, these are simple agreements between communities, municipalities, or local governments and informal recyclers to stop dumping in specific areas in exchange for improved collection services or temporary transfer points. Decentralized composting and reuse points. For example, diverting organic waste locally reduces the volume that ends up in open dumps. Communities can be trained to manage their own organic stations. The last one could be empowering informal recyclers. Recognizing and organizing informal waste pickers can help regulate dumping practices, as they are often already working in or around dump sites.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have a question from the audience again, directed to Valérie. So this is from Sanchana Srinivasan. I believe she's joining us from India. She's asking about what key challenges have you encountered in scaling up your bio-based material innovations while ensuring they remain truly regenerative and grounded in the community impact?
So, a lot. First, the challenge, I will say, to really create a product. When you have this product, to test it, how you test it, you have to go to university that is independent. After, you have to use also technology. And the same that you are doing when you are testing new medicaments, for example, and the science related, you need to test it 3 times in 3 different places. Okay, that's very important, because if not, it's not scientifically recognizable, I will say. Okay, so this is the first challenge, because you need to have a way to do it. And when you are a startup, you don't have a lot of money. You need to thrive, and you are using something that is not already on the market. So you have a lot of challenge in this. So I will say first the testing, and to be sure that it's functioning, to get the real data and the real possibility of use. But you always have one key, because when you have something bad, you have something good. You can make a lot of partnership with others. So this is very important. This is what I was speaking about before, which is open innovation. We cannot make everything alone. The key to succeed this, you need to make partner. You need to ask to the one that there is. Don't be afraid to partner in a part that's something that you don't know, and to learn from others. That's very important, because we are doing something that is very challenging, and I think that we cannot solve this problem alone. So the more you use open innovation, the more this can solve this big challenge that you can have. And after, as a startup, when this nature-based, it is something that is not in the market. So you will have to fight again other products that are not nature-based products, and that they are already into the market. So you will have to prove that they are the same effective as the other, and to find financement. So this will be the more challenging. But I will say, if you really have a passion in a nature-based solution that you test, never give up, and make partnership, and help you with the open innovation, and don't lose your faith, because that's the key for tomorrow. I'm sure that they are the products that are going to be into the market. We only have to do it well. Because if we make nature-based and we do it the same that we were doing on the past, this will be the same result. So I think that we need to switch a new way of doing things, using community, using open innovation, using speak to others that already done. Don't be afraid about local is global, because you can give your opportunity to other in another place that is so far away that you cannot do it by yourself. So make a partnership. So I will say that that's the key. And India has a lot of challenges. It was the first place where I make my first work experiences when I have exactly 20 years. I spent 1 year in Mumbai, Bombay at this time. So I will say that you have a lot of challenge, but you have also a lot of persons that have a lot of informatic knowledge in Bangalore, in Neruda. So just use open innovation, and I'm sure that you can succeed the big challenge in front that you will find, and never give up.
Thank you, Valerie. That was very well expressed. So I'll come to Lisset. During your presentation, you mentioned about Commitment Act. So what is it? And if you can explain how it encourages compliance.
The Commitment Act is an preventive regulatory tool used by UEFA during supervision processes when a facility is identified as high risk or not compliant, but the situation can be corrected without immediate sanction. UEFA may offer this act as an opportunity to voluntarily comply. The facility operator agrees to a clear set of corrective actions within a set timeline. While optional, it helps avoid fines, encourage a proactive compliance culture, and reduce conflict between regulators and operators. It is especially useful in waste infrastructure where minor deficiencies can be corrected quickly, for example, improving waste coverage or signage.
Thank you very much. You explained it very well and in a very easy manner. I'll come to Valerie again. So according to you, what role does indigenous knowledge or local wisdom play in shaping regenerative climate solutions?
Okay, so I think when I was speaking about making something that it came from the past and use what we have from the future and use it in the present, no? I was speaking, for example, the way that our grandparents were doing things, for example, and all the medicine come from plants. Okay, saying that tomorrow only a plant is going to be useful and we forget all the science that we put inside, I'm not really agree, because we use the plant and we understand how it was using it, so we add some scientific size inside, and after we make something. Okay, so I think that with the industrialized era, we forget some way of how we were doing things in the past, no? And this is something that is very local, for example, in communities that you can find in a lot of places that we are around the world that know still how to do it. For example, how we fish like this. There is a lot of a way that we can still use the manner that it was done in the past, but not only in communities, I will say in everything. In the past, they know how to repair something. They know what this textile is made of. The knowledge of how was the textile, how was the nature of a material, but also how we can repair it was very trendy. I mean, you always know how to repair a machine or something like that. Now, today, I think that again, the education of knowing how to repair was lost because we make more production. So we forget to understand how it was possible to repair it. No? So it's the same. I mean, for communities and resilience, they have a lot of things to learn. And if we use all this way or this know-how, savoir-faire, I will say, that they have, and we try to understand it and put what we know from our era, I'm sure that we can find a better solution and what can work in the future. So it's just a savoir-faire, how, for example, we make bread in the past and not in an industrial way, for example. How was we recuperate, for example, fruit? How we make a lot of things that is very valuable, and also in I'm sure that in all kind of sector, the knowledge of our old ones are very important, and we should try to remember it. I don't know if we have it in book, but I will say writing book about how it was on the past in order to don't lose this knowledge, because this knowledge is key. Is how we were making things before. If you look only architecture, what they were able to do in the past and what we are able to do today, I will say that we need to focalize in the savoir-faire, the beauty that was more quality than quantity in the past. And sometimes in faraway place, you understand how water is very important, how the food and how it will grow, that is important. So, and where is coming from this food? From the soil. If your soil cannot give food, you will know that there is a problem. So I think it's always correlated the past, but also with where and with what is external around it. And again, I will go to education, knowledge, and never forget what was you what. Never forget your history also, because the history of how we make things are very important. So we go back to knowledge, we go back to education of learning what is it, and to understand what we can add without losing this knowledge, and trying to make it better than making something different.
Thank you, Valérie. That was very well expressed. I'll come back to Lisset. There is a question from the audience that I have. So we have one of our audience joining us from Cameroon, Mohammed Munir. His question is that how can emerging cities in developing countries design and implement culturally inclusive and financial sustainable waste management infrastructure that can accommodate rapid urbanization and strengthen the ecological resilience at the same time? So basically, because the population is growing, the demand is growing, and somewhere we are compromising on what we had, or what ecosystem we had. So we are compromising on that. So he's trying to basically ask that how we can strike a balance.
Emergency cities in developing countries can design culturally inclusive and financially sustainable waste management infrastructures by combining local knowledge, low-cost innovation, and long-term planning. Some ideas, for example, start with community engagement, understanding local practices, beliefs, and informal systems, such as the role of waste pickers, is key. When systems respect cultural norms and involve communities, they are more likely to succeed. Prioritize decentralized, scalable solutions, formalize and support the informal sector, leverage data and inventories, tools like Peru, Sigarsol, and inventories of degraded areas can help cities make evidence-based decisions and target investment effectively. And co-financing partnerships, combining local budgets with national programs, climate finance, or private sector partnerships can ease financial pressure while aligning with SDGs. Invest in public awareness. Long-term success depends on behavior change. Education campaigns help people understand their role in the system. In short, I think resilient waste systems are not important. They are built from within by aligning urban planning with social inclusion, environmental goals, and realistic resources.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for answering that in a very simple way, yet in a very understandable way. We are running short of time, and this restricts me to ask any further questions, but I would request our speakers to answer the remaining questions offline. And for our viewers, do sign up our newsletter to get access to the Q&As and the latest updates. With that, I thank our speakers again for this very informative Q&A session.